not zombies, because zombies are played out.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's the first reaction we'll have. If zombies actually happened, you just walk out the door and go, this is played out.
Damn, writers really ran out of ideas.
Damn, couldn't have been dinosaurs, could it? Walk back in. Like... Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HGO podcast. I'm one of your hosts today, Ethan, and joining me, as always, are my good friends Kyle.
Hello.
And Hunter. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just swell.
I almost forgot to drop the little lower third thing, so there we go. I was just rushing to do that real quick. It's 3 a.m. We
started a bit late.
Stupid, yeah. So here we are, late as always. So happy Halloween, I guess. What date will it be when this podcast goes out? Is it?
I think it's right before Halloween. Yeah,
it's the day before, because last year it was actually on Halloween, and this year it's the 30th. So happy Halloween, I guess. As you can see, Cal wore a jacket, I removed glasses, and Hunter's dressed as normal. So everything's, everything's as normal this Halloween season. No. Okay. Hunter, what are you dressed as? We do this every year. If you're new here and you're not on the video version, congratulations, you're not blinded by the wonderful senses that you're about to see. But on the video version, we usually wear costumes this time of year. So Hunter, what are you wearing?
I am dressed as Vincent from Final Fantasy VII.
And Kyle, what are you dressed as?
I'm dressed as Squall Lionheart from Final Fantasy VIII.
And I didn't get the memo, so here we are. Brilliant. No, I am. You can't really see it because it just looks like normal clothes, but I've had this costume for months. I am Max from Life is Strange. So I've got the whole outfit here, and I've even got the shoes on, which is a terrible idea.
Yeah, I see the deer now.
Yeah, I've got the Converse.
You put shoes on for this?
Yeah, I've been wearing those shoes for 3 hours, buddy. Yeah. Don't say
it's okay. I didn't put
not
boots on, but this costume did come with like little leather shin guard things that I put on for reasons that are beyond me.
Just normal things. And say something, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
There we go. I can hear you guys.
You good, bro?
Yeah, I'm great, bro. I'm fucking fab. I'm great.
Oh.
But no, this is definitely the comfiest costume I've worn. Definitely, you just wear regular clothes. Normal human. This is great. This is why I was like, oh, I was like, this is great. I get a hoodie out of it. I don't care. I'll wear a pink top that says Jane Doe on it. I'm perfectly fine. Got a pair of jeans out of it. I'm living life. It's great.
I've managed to land on relatively comfortable costumes before. Like costume pants I've found are super comfy. Like when I dressed as Joker a couple of years ago, those pants were very soft. It's great. These pants are pretty great too. Yeah.
I'll say this is definitely the least comfortable jacket I've gotten for Halloween on this show.
Now you know how I feel.
Narukami's jacket was nice. It was nice and breathable. This is leather and it's very sticky.
Well, now you know how I feel, because, like, yeah, it was nice to not spend like $100 on something this time, which was great, because if you've not been here in the past, I have bought some atrocities on this show before.
You have. They've been real good, though.
They have been, but I am much more of a fan of this one. The only problem is like I said, it's been 3 a.m., and unfortunately, I decided to go all out, so I've even got the cheap, nasty kind of faux Apple headphones here that I'm not using instead of my actual usual audio ones. So I've been listening on these maracas. Like I showed them to Hunter. They're literally like empty.
Oh my God. So
the past 3 hours that we've been talking or whatever, I've been listening with these shitty earbuds the whole time. So it's been great. Well, it's great. Like I've got like little wristbands and everything. I went all out. I was going to buy a camera, but I thought that was a bit too much.
Oh, when I bought this was that I realized that I could have literally just bought the cloak instead of the full thing.
Yeah, that's what happens. The
shirt was kind of bad, so underneath I'm just wearing the typical like belt shirt that I've already worn several times.
You see, I think that's the problem. Is the past couple of years when I've worn some, like I say, right atrocities, it's been great that you've only been able to see from like my chest upwards, because you don't want to see what was happening down there. Let me tell no go. Don't want to look at that. Whereas this time, it's like a full actual outfit. I'm pretty like you can't really tell unless you see the whole of it. So it's like now I'm like, wow, disappointed. This is like now I should just maybe I should just lean back and just scream into my mic the entire time. But I don't think that'd
That's
be
okay,
a
dude.
good podcast.
You can't really see it on this because of how my camera's angled, but this jacket is cropped because apparently Squall wears a cropped jacket,
Yeah,
which
he
I never
does.
realized.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You
it's
didn't
just like
notice? You
I've
played the
never
game more
paid
than I have.
attention. I never paid attention, Hunter. I'm just like, damn, sick jacket, bro. Didn't even pay attention. It's like,
Well,
fucking,
that's yeah.
this is the end of the jacket.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like
like
the
when
antithesis to all the
it's like
coats
I
wear.
noticed it's like how I knew that Mio also wears a cropped like jacket, and I never thought I was like, yeah, that's fine until I'm putting it on. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
god, this is like the most restrictive thing I have worn in a while. This is not great.
Like, wait, my favorite character has no fashion sense. Oh no.
Yeah, I did.
Also have a
It was that kind
gunblade.
of sad realization where I was like,
Oh,
oh,
nice.
because like I say, I came up with this when I was replaying Life is Strange back in when was that April, May? Like when I was re-going through it, I was like, oh, that's
It
an
was
easy
in
one.
like the summer.
And then when I realized, like, I think I posted something on Twitter where I was like, I don't remember if I posted it on Twitter or I said it to you guys, but like, I realized that I'm actually a lot. I think the reason that I didn't like Max Caulfield when I first played Life is Strange because I am very much like Max Caulfield in a lot of ways. And when I wore this outfit, and I'm like, this is literally something I would wear except for the pink t-shirt. I'm like, oh god, this is a problem. My other one, which I would have done otherwise if I hadn't picked Max, was I was going to do Chai from Hi-Fi Rush. That was the other one that I was going to do if it wasn't
cool.
that. Rest in peace, Hi-Fi Rush. I will remember you. No one else will, but you know,
I will remember. We'll be the only show that remembers Hi-Fi Rush after this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my webcam up now. But yeah, so hey, it's all fun, and we're gonna continue the spooky season by talking about Alan Wake 2. That's the big thing that we're talking about this week. Hunter's been playing a tiny bit of it, so he's gonna give us his first impressions. And then, if we have time, we are going to do a fun little game. It's a new game that we like to call "Which horror game world would you be able to survive in?" So that'll be fun. I think the answer for me is going to be none of them, but we'll talk about it. Why not? It'll be a lot of fun. But if you're new here, this is the HGO podcast. We're here every Monday around 5 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. Eastern. If I sound dead and depleted, it's because, like I said, we're recording this at 3:30 in the morning. It's great. But we're here to talk about everything we love about in the world of gaming. You can listen to us on podcast services. Just search for Hot Games Only, your favorite podcast, or go to youtube.com/Hot Games Only, where you can look at our stupid faces each and every week. Not in costume every week. Who knows? Maybe I'll wear this again at some point. Like I say,
you guys continue to say,
I'm not opposed.
This is still relatively close to my normal outfits.
Yeah,
Every day is Halloween in Hunterland.
Yeah. Same. I think the only person that looks slightly different is Kyle with the fucking the fur. But you know, it is what it is.
The best part about this one is I can use it again in February when we get Final Fantasy VII.
Oh hell yeah, dude! Hell yeah. Bit of housekeeping. The Spider-Man review is up on youtube.com/hotgamers-only. I got it up pretty quick, and that's because I've literally done nothing but eat, sleep, and play Spider-Man other than working. Like, I've just been on that grind 24/7. So yeah, that review is up now if you want to go and check it out. And I'm assuming that the Mario Wonder review will also be going live this week on youtube.com/hotgamers-only as well. As of recording this podcast, have I finished Mario Wonder yet? No, but I feel like I can do it at a pretty good pace. So it'll probably be up earlier in the week.
It's not that long of a game.
No,
Kyle finished it already.
Yeah, I finished it like the day after that episode went up.
There's a tiny part of me.
The day after we recorded that episode. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. There's a tiny part of me that really wants to get it up on Tuesday, because then that means that I've somehow managed to do 4 reviews in October, which is like a crazy amount. That's basically like nearly one a week. So that would be fun. But it hasn't been fun for my brain because writing these things sometimes has just been bouncing from game to game. But I feel like it'd be a fun challenge. It also feels nice because, you know, Hunter has been like the MVP for reviews for a long period of time, right? You know, you ever go onto the website and there's always like these, if you look at the bottom border, there's just like a huge like spray of just Hunter. So it's nice to see like a chunk of me and like see Hunter in the minority for once. I'm like, we're never going to see this again. I'm just going to revel in it until Alan Wake, and then everything else starts popping up again. But yeah, check it out. I like Spider-Man quite a bit, so you can hear all about my impressions now that the game's done. We would have talked about it more, but we talked about it before the podcast, so it seems kind of moot to do that now because we got all the
Still
passion
do
out
a spoiler
beforehand.
cast
What's this?
someday.
We could do if we have some
Also,
time.
when we run out of things to like talk, when we need to dip back into the tier list bucket, ranking the suits. Yeah,
That's a good idea. That's a good
because
idea.
there are some that look great.
I thought you were going to say silver then, and I was like, no, we're not carrying this bit into
ranking the suits, because there are some that are great, and then there are a couple that are just heinously ugly.
Yeah, there is. There's some really bad ones. Maybe, yeah, that'd be a fun extra thing to do. But hey, there you go. Anyway, let's get straight into it because, like I say, it's late. This might be a shorter episode than usual because, like I say, man's got to sleep at some point in his life. So let's start with Alan Wake 2. First question, Hunter. How much have you played of Alan Wake 2? It's Friday as we're recording, so he hasn't had too long to play.
I think I managed, because of the conversation that continued to happen, to squeak it to like 3 hours, maybe 3.5.
Which is a pretty decent amount of time. And let's set a basis here. Obviously, Remedy is known for a lot of things. I feel like they're known for Max Payne originally.
Control.
I think the two things are obviously Alan Wake 1 and Control. Where are you on the Remedy scale, Hunter? What have you played?
I think now I've played everything except for Quantum Break, because I played Max Payne 1 and 2 at the end of last year going into this year. Really liked those. I played Control back in 2020, and I played Alan Wake 1 last year. So I think that's all of them that or most of them that are like notable besides Quantum Break.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I don't know if you know this, Kyle, but all Remedy's games, bar the original Max Payne 1 and 2, but all the new ones from Alan Wake onwards have kind of always been hinted at always being in the same universe, kind of this weird, especially Control and Alan Wake, but even Quantum Break has references. They've kind of created their own universe that all these games are set in, so even though they're different genres and do different things, they're all interconnected, which I think's really interesting, and there's always references. And
yeah,
I think the interesting thing is Alan Wake 2 is one of those games that I think a lot of people were expecting to never exist, because Alan Wake 1 was like this cult classic.
Like Alan Wake.
Yeah, Alan Wake 1, cult classic, came out fucking ages ago, over a decade ago, right? When was the original Alan Wake?
2010.
God, 2010. Jeez, that's ages ago. That's like same age as like AC Brotherhood. That's crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, May 14th, 2010.
Yeah. So it's a cult classic game that I think that it wasn't necessarily a huge financial success. So I don't think anybody ever expected to see it again, but after the boost in Control and stuff like that, it's given Remedy this freedom to go back.
It wasn't a huge financial success, but from what I can gather, that's like Sam Lake, who's the lead writer over at Remedy. It's like his favorite project was Alan Wake. So, like, eventually,
one of the characters is based on his likeness, right? Because I know the original Max Payne was based on his likeness. Yeah. He's got a very iconic face.
It's very funny because he's like Saga Anderson's partner is the Sam Lake face captured guy, and it's like his name is Alex Casey, which is hilariously in the universe of Alan Wake also the name of Alan Wake's novel character, who is just Max Payne. It's very funny.
They're having a lot of fun with it, right? And I guess the main difference between the original Alan Wake and this one, at least from the marketing, is I remember when they first revealed Alan Wake 2. I can't remember if it was at the Game Awards or if it was at...
it was the Game Awards.
It was the Game Awards, wasn't it? And they came out, and that big thing
slowly approached the screen, and I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like a character. It looks vaguely like a character in Troy Baker's archetype, and then Ethan looked real closer at the screen, and then a jump scare happened.
You said Troy Baker, and I was instantly like, now I'm invested. And then I got a jump scare, and I'm like, wow, what'd I do for Troy Baker? And it wasn't even Troy Baker. But yeah, because I remember the big thing that they came out on stage, and they were like, it's a horror game. We're doing it for real this time, because the original Alan Wake wasn't necessarily a horror game, whereas this time they're like, no, we're doing it. We're making a horror game. Remedy's making a horror game. That's like
And they've sure
the
toyed
big
with
talking
like
point.
the idea of horror and as an element in like all of their games. Max Payne had a bunch of sequences that were like these weird dream, what would have passed for creepy at the time
I mean, same with
sequences.
Alan Wake, same kind of.
Yeah.
It's got some creepy, and Control has such a kind of eerie atmosphere to it, where it's like people like I've had in my eventual like game list for years now, right? But it's like every time I go to it, I'm like, I'm like, is it going to be a bit too creepy? Because all the gameplay I've seen, it's like it's got that almost. It has that same kind of feeling that the Stanley Parable had to me, where it's like this eerie kind of emptiness, where it's like, even though there might not be anything there, the fact that you're alone and it's dark and it's kind of this like in like the
It's like the
kind of
weird
setting,
kind of
it's
feeling
psychological.
one gets in their stomach if you're like alone in an office building after midnight or something.
Yes, that's
Like a
literally the
liminal
reason why I
space.
was not a fan of like that's why I felt it in the Stanley Parable, right? There's in the Stanley Parable there's like I don't it's there's a very rare chance of seeing like very quickly as you're going through the offices someone run past one of the doors. And that happened to me, and once I knew that there was like there's people here, and it shivers down my spine instantly. Like there's just that kind of fear. There's something about office buildings that in the dark or when you're alone in an office building, creepiest fucking setting. Same with
That's
schools.
why
If
that
you've ever been in a
that's why
school
that backroom
alone,
nonsense has taken off in the past couple of years because it just looked like unoccupied office hallways.
the back rooms always annoys me as a Doctor Who fan because the
Is that
premise
where
of
it started?
the Backroom's original kind of monster concept is basically the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, and they
Oh,
kind of happened
Ah,
at the same time, but it was very clear that the Weeping Angels were first, and all the Backrooms fans are like, no, they copied. I'm like, no, it was Doctor Who first. I'm sorry,
that's
Backrooms
okay.
fans, it was Doctor
I've
Who
always
first.
smacked talk Slender Man because I'm like, you just look like Jack Skellington without the personality and tentacles.
But anyway, Alan Wake 2. Horror game through and through. Remedy's first proper attempt at a horror game that is a horror game, not just creepy for the sake of being creepy, right?
Yeah.
How are you finding it so far?
So far, um, honestly, they've done the bold move of at the moment. First of all, Alan Wake is not who they start you playing. You play as the other character, Saga Anderson, who's been in the promotional material as they've been promoting it as a game with two protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think, despite the fact that you may not think that they would do that because, the other guy's name is the name of the game,
Titular character, yeah.
I think that this is probably a decent move because a lot of people haven't played Alan Wake. A lot of people would start to play Alan Wake and be like, gameplay kind of bad, gonna bounce. And
It
then
is from that era.
it sure is. And then anyway, my point is it's a decent way to introduce you to the world through the eyes of somebody who knows about as much as a newcomer to the world would.
I think it's
Without
also
it
a good
feeling,
idea. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
yeah, without it feeling too like, oh, as you know, blah blah blah. Because like, the problem with sequels doing this to characters who lived through it is, they should already know it, so it makes no sense to be telling you.
It's just exposition for exposition's sake. It's
Yeah.
like we've got to catch some people up. It's what I really like about Spider-Man 2 with when they bring back characters from the DLC or something like that. They don't go, hang on a second, guys, let's do some catch up. They're just like, either you know it or you don't, and we're gonna roll with it, and you can just hop on the bus anyway. And it's just like, let's
Yeah.
get going. But I think it's a good idea for Alan Wake, especially because from what we've seen from the promotional side, the stuff with Alan himself seems to be a lot more of the experimental stuff, the weird kind of stuff that they're doing. I know there's a load of live action elements involved, and it's like, so I feel
Yeah.
like starting off with the character that's not necessarily more normal, but in like a more stereotypical, like introductory situation that's not too complicated for an audience to understand is
It
also a
seems like
good
her
point of
scenario is
view
the
to
more
start with.
grounded of the two.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
uh, relatively speaking, anyway.
I mean,
but
it's Remedy. It's always going to be
yeah, it's
have
always going to
and
be weird. This is the
yeah,
thing I appreciate about Remedy is similar to like how I like Kojima's games for him just being able to be weird at the AAA level in a way that most AAA developers are cowards. Um, Remedy is
yeah.
also afforded the opportunities to be weird in a way that most people won't be, and I like them for that.
It's, and I think I don't know if it's because in the games industry, and I'm saying that in a year where we've had a lot of good games, and I feel like a lot of the shining examples of games this year have been kind of the more stuff like Alan Wake, stuff like Baldur's Gate, where it's like these are games that most of the time AAA people would not let you make, but people are making them anyway, right? I think there's some really cool
Yeah,
stuff happening. But in the past couple of years, we definitely have been feeling a bit stagnant, where it's like, hey, look, the Game of the Year nominations this year are a Souls-like and a third-person action perspective game, and it's like, we've been sitting on the same kind of game types and game structures since basically mid to late gen PS4, right? We've all been riding on the narrative third person adventure game, the third person. Like, we've had they've all been very much narrative. So having stuff like this where it's like, hey, what if we mix live action elements into weird sections and have weird talk show elements and just like going super weird and trying technology that necessarily not many people have tried before. I think that's really cool and interesting. I remember
yeah,
seeing the last Alan Wake trailer they did, not the final trailer, but the one they did at Summer Game Fest, where they showed off the Alan Wake side of Alan Wake 2. And I was like, that's really damn interesting, to the point where I'm like, I'm not a horror fan, but I might pick up Alan Wake 2 down the line because it's so interesting what they're doing. And also, the game is so gorgeous that they can easily mix live action and regular, and it's very, like, it just kind of works.
yeah. There
It's
was a scene at the
bizarre.
beginning where I could be wrong about it, but oftentimes, like definitely during like these close-up shots, you could tell they were models. But if it pulled back, it seemed like it could have just been a wide like shot from a camera rather than like a model in a game. And as it was happening, I didn't really have time to examine it
Hmm.
again, but it definitely passed like at a glance for real, if nothing else.
Hmm. So, what's the basic premise here? What's the story of Alan Wake 2? Where are we
So
picking up?
it picks up, 13 years after the first game, so it's kind of like, 13 years ago was when the first game
Hmm.
happened or came out, so it's basically present day. Um, the town that the first game took place in, Bright Falls, people have been disappearing from there. All of these disappearances happened in 2010, but only now their bodies are being discovered.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like the a mystery that brings the two FBI agents to town, and uh, very quickly you learn that there's this cult involved with some more recent murders that have happened,
Hmm.
and that's essentially where I just finished the first boss fight uh, as of when I stopped playing,
Hmm.
and I just kind of got saw Alan Wake properly for the first time
He's
there.
there. He's real.
Um, and it takes elements from the first game too. Like in the first game, you were constantly picking up pages of this manuscript that Alan seemingly had written that was
Hmm.
telling you the future or potentially things that had already happened exactly as they had happened.
Timey-wimey
Uh,
stuff, yeah.
yeah, and that's happening here again, playing into the mystery of, and it makes it's a lot more interesting to have the person who is just reading this happen to them, who's not
Not be
Alan.
Alan,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's fun.
Hmm.
It's really bold of this game too because I played for like it feels like it was an hour and a half or 2 hours before I even shot my gun.
Hmm.
It's like it's definitely a horror game, but also a lot of the elements that are going into it are like detective stuff. Like the main mechanic that it introduces you to at the beginning is they call it the Mind Place. I'm just gonna call it the Mind Palace because that makes more sense to me. You click a button in Saga basically. goes into her head, and there's like a mental case board that she has
Does the
where you
Sherlock
lay
Holmes
out
kind
the
of thing,
yeah,
yeah.
where you just lay out bits of evidence and stuff and go through the motions of what a detective would do to solve a mystery and whatnot.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, fair enough.
there's not really a whole lot of problem solving that actually goes with those, aside from, yes, logically, who are the killers? These weirdos in the deer masks.
So kind of, yeah, like more like, I don't know how to describe it. It's more like in a lot of AAA games, it's like, can you solve the puzzle? And it's not really a puzzle. It's just like this goes in the
Yeah, it's
square
like
hole kind of thing.
it's like
Like,
like I said, it's going through the motions more than it is like actually solving anything.
mhm.
It's not like Danganronpa or Ace Attorney where you've got to actually present the evidence
I mean, sometimes
to
you don't
a
have to think in those
contradictory.
either. You know what it.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, fair enough. I guess one of my big questions is how. So you said not firing a gun for like the first 60, 90 minutes of the game.
yeah.
What is the gameplay loop kind of like for this game? Because from looking at it, I don't know if it's a good comparison or not, but when I was watching the gameplay trailers, when we've seen a lot of it, once we started seeing stuff that wasn't just Alan's CGI face, um, what we saw a lot of, it's that kind of behind the back third person perspective. It gave me a lot of Resident Evil kind of vibes in terms of the way the character was moving about. It kind of
Yeah, yeah.
reminded me of the modern Resident Evil games. Does it feel a lot like a modern Resident Evil game in ways, or is there something that's maybe distinguishes it more?
So I would say the distinguishing element probably is this whole extra detective layer of uh, bit that you got going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like in the action and whatnot, it is very similar to where you're basically coming across things that's directing you to go to the other key points of the map and whatnot as you move on. It was like,
Pretty
oh,
nice yellow paint for Twitter to have a go at.
oh my god, man, that debate was so silly.
Did you see the streamer or whatever who was struggling with the pulling down the two analog sticks in
Yeah.
Spider-Man? And I'm like, this is why we need yellow paint, guys, is because
Exactly.
people
Y'all
can't read
can't
the
read.
hold. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Uh,
but yeah, it is very simple. Like it's got a very classic kind of like it's a very forgiving horror game inventory where it gives you like what seem to be like 10 or 15 or maybe 10 or 12 slots
mhm.
from the start, like without any upgrades, and that's quite a bit. So, you know, that's nice. Um, but it does have the general loop of what you would expect for that kind of thing. Like the whole thing with Alan Wake's spooks is monsters or whatever come from uh, just literal darkness will like infest people, and
Mhm.
you beat them back with a flashlight, and that makes them susceptible to bullets after that. So,
So it's like Luigi's Mansion
but with guns.
instead of a
With
vacuum.
guns. Stick
Yeah.
that on the box. That doesn't exist because it's digital only.
Oh my yeah.
Oh, that's so upsetting. I
You
know.
you've got to assume that they're going to make a physical at some point, right?
Eventually, they have to. Like,
And on the bright side, you might get the final version, like all updates and everything,
yeah,
all in
yeah,
one,
with
which
like
is
the
maybe a bright side if they
whatever.
do it.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what you expect. A lot of the like, there are like lamp posts or whatever, like shining lights that'll act as little brief safe spots that as soon as you walk out of, or if you antagonize a monster from said shine of light there, it'll disappear. But it heals you and whatnot when you walk into it.
Fair enough.
And then there are proper safe rooms and whatnot when as well, where you can do your manual saves and all of that. It auto saves too, but this game is super weird about it's super inconsistent about its checkpointing, I've found.
Hmm.
Like there were like I crossed over a couple of chapters. Like I think I got to the end of what would have been the third chapter. Well, the second full chapter. There was one at like the very beginning that served as like a 5 minute prologue essentially. But like the second full chapter there, and the save point didn't happen until having a conversation a little bit after, like you'd figure the save point would happen right at their little fancy transition chapter end screen, rather than having to have a conversation a little bit into the chapter for it to do
Yeah.
its thing. But that's not how it went, so that was weird. But also, then this boss I just fought, the checkpoint was right before the boss.
Oh.
So it's a little weird, but whatever. I'm sure I'll get over it.
I guess the big question I have is how scary is it? What would you how are you feeling on this? How spooky is it?
Now put yourself
Obviously,
in a normal
now,
human's
yeah,
brain,
yeah, hang on,
Hunter.
yeah. Take a step back, not on the hunter scale of nothing scary or cowards. I want like a, how do you think a regular
For
person will
average
react to this
Ethans
video
of the
game?
world.
Yeah, not me.
I'm
I'm like
pretty
the
sure
opposite.
that the opening segment of this game probably would get a few people real good, because you play as like a regular not protagonist, just the victim of one of these cult assaults for the first 3 minutes.
Oh, good.
So yeah, that was really good at setting the tone. I think that it probably would get people pretty good, and then atmospherically, it does a really good job at like, as things were going on, it was like very good about just the sun subtly getting lower, and it was like, ah, yes, surely, like it wasn't one of those, you walk into a building and some stuff happens, and then you walk out and now it's dark and everything is going down. No, it was very subtly building the tension. That's what I respect this game for being such a slow burn at the beginning here. It really lets you gestate in the world. It's a good move, because that was the best part about the first game, was its world and general concept.
No, fair enough.
But yeah, I'd say it's probably fairly intimidating for most regular folk.
The most regular folk mocking us already. And how are you finding it, Hunter? You just like, yeah, this is fine.
I've got nerves of steel.
Pretty much, yeah.
I can do this all day.
I'm Vincent Valentine. I don't have any emotions.
Pretty much.
Fair enough. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention that we haven't brought up?
Nothing's coming
Any
to
game
mind.
breaking bugs? Any?
Uh,
Did Alan Wake ever turn into a cube?
Cube, yeah.
No.
Did any cube?
There was
Did Alan Wake ever leave a silly hat on?
at the start of the second chapter, there was a prompt for, it was one of those conversation prompts that I clicked on, and it acted as if I clicked on it, except the conversation didn't happen, and therefore the progress that should have came from the conversation never happened.
Oh,
So I had to reload it. That's how I figured out that it didn't checkpoint me after the chapter
Oh.
ending.
Fair enough.
I was like, oh, I have to watch this cutscene and dodge this guy again. Lovely. But that's the only thing that's happened to me so far, as far as that's concerned. There was one thing as far as the detective-y elements here, where on top of the case board where you're taking like the bits of evidence and just like doing the string thing together, she's got this other thing called profiling, where she puts herself in the shoes of the characters that she's talked to and just kind of deduces things that way. And some of those deductions seem like a bit of a reach. Where I'm like, huh, I'm really good at predicting where things go, and I would not have. There was zero things to go off of for you to pull that information out of so far. like, there were the first thing. Well, some of the first people you talk to after you talk to, the people at the crime scene, is there were some witnesses at a diner that you go and chat with, and she just kind of magically infers that the one lady took a necklace from the scene that belonged to the cult people. And I'm like, where did you get that from? Where did that information come from?
She's just a really good agent, Hunter.
You just got good intuition, dude. You just don't understand.
Dude.
You're just not as good, Hunter. That's why you're not an FBI agent.
Maybe she.
That's why
knows
you're Vincent
more
Valentine.
than she is letting on.
Yeah.
Maybe she's the villain.
Yeah.
Maybe she did it. Maybe she woke Alan.
She's the one writing the story. Yeah.
Or whatever this
woke
game's
Alan.
about. I don't know. I don't know. I've never played it.
Alan went downhill after he became woke.
I was gonna say, how many people do you think have gone Alan Woke, female protagonist? Like, oh no,
I'm sure that was probably
somebody will have done that.
Some
unironically.
idiot said that unironically when they
Mm.
introduced Saga in the promotional material. I
Oh,
would not be
100%.
shocked.
100%.
Probably several idiots, but
Probably.
y'all have the same personality, so you count
You're
as
all
one.
one big idiot blob.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. Would you recommend Alan Wake 2 from what you've played so far, Hunter? This little
Yeah,
selection.
I'd recommend it. It's interesting so far. I'm fascinated by it. It's got this kind of tone that in this year of games that's been pretty stellar, no other game has had quite the kind of vibe it has, which is impressive as far as that's concerned. If you tried the other one and didn't like it, or played the other one and didn't like it, I'd say still give this one a shot, because the world is still interesting, and I think the gameplay is more focused.
And if you've played Control but not Alan Wake, would you say that you are fine to hop aboard Alan Wake 2 without trying Alan Wake remaster? I know there's a remaster out and stuff like that, but would you say that it's a safe
Yeah,
transition?
if you think this is interesting, yeah, because like I said, Saga's whole plotline seems to be onboarding you into the world without needing prior knowledge, really.
Cool. Well, there you go. Alan Wake, pretty good, pretty terrifying for normie people like me. Very good. So there you go. Let's move on, I guess, to our other topic of the show. As we said, shorter episode this week, so buckle up, kids. Because I'm sure this next 15 to 20 minutes is going to be great. And if this goes to shit, we'll have Hunter talk to us about Dredge. It'll be fine. We'll be fine and dandy.
Yeah.
So I jokingly said while we were thinking of something to do in our 2 hours of talking before the podcast actually started, which horror game world would you be able to survive in? So this is the real question here, because I've been thinking about this for like the entirety of this podcast in the back of my head, and I was like, I think I would be one of those people that died on the first day of all this shit, of any shit going down. You know what I mean? Like Last of Us, I'd be one of those fucking goners instantly, dude. I'd be dead instantly. No chance in hell.
I wouldn't even try to survive The Last of Us, because if a zombie apocalypse in that way happens, I'm quitting because it's boring.
I do not like the vibes. Goodbye.
I thought I was like I was of a similar mindset until the TV show, episode 3 of the TV show, what they did with Bill and Frank, where Bill basically became, obviously Bill's a hermit in the game, but he basically made his own compound where they just live a normal life. They have like a massive electric fence around everywhere. They just have like a normal home, and they're just
Nice.
big chilling. I'm like, if you're resourceful and crafty like that, and you're someone that prefers to be isolated, I'm sure you'll have a fine time there. But other than that, wouldn't be me. I'd be dead.
I was
instantly.
more saying that if the world ends via zombie apocalypse, that's lame, and I don't want to do something cool. Crash the moon, make dinosaurs come back, aliens, I don't care. Not zombies, because zombies are played out.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's the first reaction we'll have.
fair.
If zombies actually happened, you just walk out the door and go, "This is played out." I'm fucking
Damn. Writers really ran out of ideas.
Damn, couldn't have been dinosaurs, could it? Walk back in. Like...
Dinosaurs would be substantially more interesting. I would much rather be killed by raptors than zombies. It'd be it'd be so cool.
Hear me out. Zombie dinosaurs, yes or no?
I mean, all the dinosaurs are dead, so they'd technically be zombies if they came back.
I'll accept it.
Fair enough. Now, okay, so by Hunter's logic, Hunter thinks that Jurassic Park is about zombie dinosaurs.
Jurassic Park is a zombie movie? Hell yeah.
Apparently, according to Hunter. Write it down, guys, write it down.
Life finds a way.
Next up is the world of Resident Evil. Now, the thing about Resident Evil is...
Their zombies have superpowers, so that'd be cool.
No, but here's the thing, Hunter, and you have
the superpower of using a chainsaw.
Because I'm not up to date with Resident Evil lore, right? My Resident Evil knowledge is Resident Evil 4. There was this thing that happened in a police station, and at one point Chris Redfield went to a fucking volcano and punched a rock. That's my entirety of my lore. And there's this guy called Ethan Winters, and he loves chopping his hands off. That's his kink, right? That's all I know. That's my entire Resident Evil knowledge. Is it more of a kind of, there are these kind of specific areas, specific sites that have these things happen, and then these teams go and investigate them, but the rest of the world is fine? It's like all undercover and there's no real knowledge of it? Or is it an apocalypse and everyone's trying to just make the best of it?
It always seems, it's always portrayed like a contained incident that people just deal with, and, you know, the people who have to live through it, you know, suffer, but it doesn't ever seem to extend further than that until the events of another game where something similar happens elsewhere. Because, like, you know, Leon survived Raccoon City and started working for the government, which didn't collapse because Raccoon City was dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
So, for regular schmucks who are lucky enough to not land in the, you know, ground zero of a Resident Evil disaster, by that standard, yeah, you could potentially live through the world of Resident Evil. But
yeah, I think I'd be fine in that situation. In any other situation, I'd be fucked. I'd be first person.
if you are a resident of Raccoon City, your chances of surviving that compared to a regular zombie outbreak would be slimmer because, like I said, their zombies have powers.
Yeah.
Mr. X has a nice hat.
You wouldn't be shooting off his hat if it was real life, dude. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely
You know,
not.
let's fuck with his hat just for shits and giggles, dude. No.
Yeah. Blickers would ruin people's lives, etc.
Oh yeah.
Again, it's like, no, I wouldn't want to be there. Like, no, I'm good. Like, could you imagine, like, when you're like, oh, you know, when you're playing a game, when you're playing like Resident Evil 4 or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, this is fun, this is cool, I like being Leon. If you were there, you'd die to the first fucker. Like, never mind thinking about what else, not only getting through that village, but then, you know, stuff like the minecart sections and stuff like that. And you're like, I'm not living this. You've got no chance in hell. No chance.
Like, generously with Resi 4, you could potentially make it up to the first, I would say that up to the first, assuming that you didn't trigger like the entire village's alert at the beginning, pretend like you were able to be sneaky enough to either dodge past them or take them off one by one or whatever. Up to the first time that the Plaga pops out of somebody's head and starts doing the little scythe swoops.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I say
then you would be screwed.
I don't think you even make it to that because you have to go through the fucking lake with the big.
Oh yeah, I forgot that happens first.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be a
lake monster would definitely eat you.
Oh yeah.
And even then, you have to go through the water fucking logged area with the houses and the windy fucking town. Yeah, you're fucking dead. So I feel like Resident Evil, also bad idea. I think they're all terrible ideas, right? Nothing in space. Fuck that off. I'm dead instantly.
Oh, yeah.
Dead Space.
The Dead Space monsters are potentially
like that,
even
no dead.
Well, I don't. Okay, actually, Callisto Protocol. Most of them just kind of act like zombies. Like regular zombies. So, with the exception of a two-headed guy, you might be able to pull that one off if you're careful. Given the technology.
Until you put too much faith in me, mate, I'm fucking dead. I'm just
I'm talking the royal you here. Somebody
who has to fight. Really,
yeah.
No, I'm
all right,
Ethan.
I'm sorry. Do you think you could survive Luigi's Mansion?
Yeah.
Can you use a flashlight?
Yeah, those ghosts just piss about.
Can you use a vacuum cleaner?
Like, I don't think
he was just a silly little guy.
Yeah.
Other than King Boo that you have to fucking run away from. Like, all the other ones are like pretending to drive cars and piss about, dude. Like, they're not actual. Like, the original Luigi's Mansion maybe would be harder because you have like the boss ghosts and stuff like that, and it's a bit more kind of creepy. But like Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3, they're just like, oh look, that one's green, that one's red. Luigi, help me out, you know? Like, well, there's nothing much to it. I think Luigi's Mansion I'd be fine with, Carl. I think Luigi's Mansion would be fine. Maybe.
But yeah, I guess the point I was getting to about Callisto Protocol was that's definitely at least more survivable than Dead Space is, where
Oh, yeah.
the necromorphs on their own, um, as deadly as some of the top tier Resident Evil monsters.
Oh, 100%.
And then the extra, and that's just the regular necromorphs. The extra necromorphs on top of those, like the special ones of those. Yeah,
Bloodborne
no.
again. I'd
you're
be
not
fucked.
coming out of that one.
Bloodborne, I'd be fucked. Like,
Oh, Bloodborne.
no chance. I'd
I wouldn't
get
survive,
I'd
but
get
that might be the
illness
most
anyway.
fun.
Well, you see, here, I feel like the only one I'd have a chance at is Returnal, because you're just stuck in that fucking loop. So it's like,
No, yeah.
you know, it's like, give me a billion years of doing the fucking loop. I might actually get to the end of it eventually.
Well, you could say the same for Bloodborne then.
I guess.
You just respawn at the checkpoints.
But also, you never. I might not be the hunter, dude. I might just be one of the fuckers in the village. I might.
Oh
just
yeah,
be
one of the
screwed.
NPCs that
Yeah.
die because you talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone might come
Oh,
up to me. I've
fair.
got to live in darkness, Cal, because if I leave my fucking light on inside, someone will come and talk up to me at the window and I'll die. Like, that's like, God, can't be doing that.
Okay, but do you think you could get past the first wolf in Bloodborne?
Nah, that wolf
to get
will
to the
fucking
checkpoint?
no chance in hell.
No.
Because
Fair
here's the
enough.
thing, right? Is like you can
You
dodge
don't even
roll
get a
it or
weapon
whatever.
to fight that thing.
No,
Yeah, you don't have a weapon at
you
that
don't have a
point.
weapon, no.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
yeah. I wouldn't be able to do it either.
Because I feel like, unlike, if we're going by game logic, then maybe. But I feel like if it's like, oh, it becomes your real life, I don't think you pushing the door will give you your fucking invincibility frames like it does in the real and Bloodborne, Kyle. So I don't think that'll work. Because usually you can just run past, and as long as you hit the interact button, you're safe in that door push. You're safe in
Hey,
that
nah,
door
dude,
push.
just keep rolling. You're good.
Yeah, just keep rolling.
It's a top
Skill
tier
issue.
maneuver.
Yeah, exactly.
I would just pull a maneuver that all of the Bloodborne idiots were too stupid to do, and I would play dead.
Of course. Of course. I'm just trying to think of any others. Can you think of any other?
Depending on the level of trauma of the other people in town, Silent
Mhm.
Hill could be the most
No
harrowing
fucking
experience
chance,
of your
dude.
life,
Nah.
or it could just be a simple trip through town. Because it's a location that feeds off of the psychology of specific people in it.
Yeah, bro.
Depending on the story.
Have you seen me, like my brain, dude? Like, I'd be fucked, dude. I'd go to Silent Hill and Silent would be like, "Well, that's a bit much, mate. Can you tone it down a bit?" Like, no, too much. I'd be terrible. I've realized that this is why I hate horror games or horror whatever, dudes, because I've realized that in any situation that's like, I wouldn't be the killer, I wouldn't be anybody, I'd be just fucking dead. Like, that's me. It's like in movies or whatever. It's like I'm up there with like the first girl that gets killed at the start of every Scream movie, dude. Like, that's my level of survivability and everything. Just instant death is awaiting for me. Whereas I feel like, Kyle would have a bit more of a chance than I would, and then I feel like you'd be the most likely to adapt Hunter out of anybody.
If it makes you feel any better, I don't think I'd survive any of these scenarios either.
Feel like you have a better chance though.
Yeah, my runtime through the media in question would be longer, but I would still die.
No.
Or I'd be one of those I'd be like one of the journals in Resident Evil that you find, like just the little background, one of the background stories.
Yeah, it'd be like one of the notes in The Last of Us, but instead of having this moving or heartbreaking story, it'd just be like, look at this dumb fuck, he tripped over a rock on the first day because he shat himself from a clicker and died. Lamau. That'd be my note. Be like, oh dear. Although if we're going by that logic, when what year did The Last of Us 1? It was 2013, right?
Yeah, I believe they set the outbreak to happen in 2013.
So I would have been what? 15.
Sophomore year. Yeah,
Yeah,
15,
would have been like
16.
15, nearly 60. I'd be fucking dead anyway in that
Yeah.
situation, dude.
Yeah.
But
Oof.
I think that's the thing is, dude. Just any horror situation, I'd just curl up into a ball and cry, and then I'd just wait for death. That's what I would do. Although maybe in like a Last of Us situation, don't want to turn into a clicker. Just like I say, off yourself in that situation. But yeah, I'm just
This
not
isn't
for it.
horror games, but some of my other friends are under the impression that if I were to be put in a jigsaw scenario, that I would annoy the killer into giving up by not participating or just hassling them.
Yeah, that seems likely. That seems likely.
And I'm like, it's tickling that you think this of me.
But now, let us know if you think you could survive. I don't think anybody could survive. I feel like it's like horror protagonists are built different. They are just built different. Where I don't think
It's
they are.
true.
I don't think there's anybody in real life that could really be like a Leon Kennedy or a Chris Redfield or anything like that. You know, like,
Yeah, well, poor Leon. That was his first day on the job.
and he survived. Ethan's
Still,
first day
dude.
on the job, it being chased around by fucking Mr. X in a place that you've not even had a full chance to look at where all the
All right,
rooms are.
guys. We need to remember this for next year. We need to leave off like superpowered characters like Kratos and stuff, but other game characters and place them into horror scenarios and like
Ooh.
tier list who would survive.
It's a good idea.
Like, could Crash Bandicoot survive Resident Evil?
I think he could. I think he could. If he
Would
gets 3
he
masks,
have
dude, that's
Aku Aku?
invincibility, dude. Mr. X won't stand
Does
a
he
chance.
get his fruit bazooka?
I don't know if the fruit bazooka would work on Mr. X.
Nonsense.
He'd knock his hat off at least.
Yeah, he can still get the trophy. That's all that
Still
matters.
get the trophy. That's all we care about on this. On this podcast, all we care about is trophies. I also keep forgetting I'm not wearing glasses, so I just keep going to like prod my fucking eyeballs. It's fine.
Someone in the audience out there,
Well,
write that one down so that you can remind us around October next year.
Future
Put it in
hunter
the top.
watching this video, put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Please do. Please do. Right. Round us out.
Or, you know, we could just put it in our ideas document that we have.
That would also be
That too.
that would be a good idea. That would. You know, this is a very hunter-centric episode, but you know it's Halloween, so what do you expect? Hunter, round us out with Dredge. Give us a talk about Dredge. We might as well. We're here, right? We're here.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
vibing.
All right. So, Dredge came out earlier this year, and it was one I was interested in, but it kind of passed me by, and I finally got to play it like last week or 2 weeks ago at this point. And it's really cool. Basically, the central premise is you're this random fisherman who kind of woke up in a haze, and your boat's kind of messed up, and you barely sail into town. Similar to like how Jack Sparrow's introduction in the first Pirates of the Caribbean was, just barely made it there. So the mayor of the town is like, "Hey, you go out and fish for the town. We'll give you a boat." And
Trade off.
that all seems like, yeah, trade offer essentially. The more fish you get, the more you pay off your boat, and so forth. The cool thing is that rather than just being a normal fishing game, it has like this very neat eldritch undertone to it. So like everyone in the game, they all seem like the kind of person that if you turn your back on them for too long, they'd like slide a knife between your ribs.
Oh, good.
So it's like, oh, or if you just say the wrong thing, they just start screaming about anything really.
Mm.
And then on top of that, the ocean gets real creepy at night. Sometimes when you're fishing, you'll just get, for example, one of the first things you fish for is like squids at night, and one of them, or the first like deformed fish I got was like a cyclops squid, where it was just like a squid and then an eyeball at the end of it, and I'm like, ah, yes, this is hence why I was interested in this seemingly nondescript fishing game, is because it's got the cool like eldritch horror vibes to it. And like I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a full-on horror game, although I guess it could potentially be as stressful as one because of all like the boat management stuff. You know, the longer you stay out at night, the more like crazy your character gets. You'll start hallucinating like rock paths in your way, and I think you'll also hallucinate the subsequent damage you would take if you don't move out of the way of the hallucinated rock paths and so forth. So it could still make for a pretty stressful time if you stay up. If you don't rest at all and like make it back to the, following day where hypothetically you shouldn't be crazy anymore because it's daytime. If you've like pushed your luck too far at night and whatnot, you'll still just be harassed by stuff because you've gone too crazy. Like birds will come and start taking your fish and all of that, or like the sea monsters will get more aggro with you in the broad daylight. But yeah, it's
So-
got a very cool atmosphere to it as far as like there's something about weird fishing towns that hits differently than other horror settings. I'm not saying it hits specifically better or anything. It's just got a very unique kind of vibe to it.
It's different. No. So what you're basically saying is that Dredge is the antithesis of Dave the Diver. Is what you're really getting at? Like this is the moral of the
Yes,
story.
it's like
They're the
it's like
opposites of
spooky
each other, the
Dave.
yin and yang of video games.
But yeah, and as far as all of the atmosphere and all of that's what drew me in, and the actual like gameplay loop of the mechanics is very gratifying for being as simple as it is, where you just go to, it highlights your little fishing spots, you go to them, do the ones that you can with the pole that you have, and just typical sell your fish, buy upgrades so you can fish in different areas. There's like 5 different types where it's like it's the starting one, which I think they just call like coastal. There's one for shallow water. There's one for abyssal, is for specifically looking for the nightmare creatures in the reefs and whatnot. And there were a couple more that are escaping me at this point, but just making your boat better so you can store more fish to sell and all of that. I ended up just kind of wasting a lot of time just aimlessly going to fishing spots and fishing for things that I didn't really need to get, because the game lays out your goal of like, oh, there's this dude on there's basically a guy in this mansion in one of these islands kind of away from town. He's like, hey, I can make your boat better with magic, essentially. And I need you to go get these items for me. And that's your quest through the game, is going to the different areas and retrieving said items that the guy is requesting. And every time you bring one back, it's like, oh, now you have the swift sail, essentially, except for your engine.
Fair enough.
Because it's not a sail. And other ones, like it lets you teleport back to the guy's mansion from wherever you were, which helps as like a fast travel if you're trying to do something else specific close by to there, kind of thing. So it lays out your general goal very early on, but I spent the first several hours I was playing the game not really adhering to the goal and just kind of going to the I'm gonna catch all of these and go back, and I'm gonna catch all of those and go back, and now I'm gonna fish at nighttime a little bit so I get one of the monsters. And just kind of aimlessly, I built up a lot of money that I just pocketed, because on top of that, upgrading your boat, you go out and dredge for the like scrap metal and boards and stuff to upgrade, get the materials for your boat. And on top of the general, and then do that to your screen too. On top of the general main quest there, they do have I just got taken by the Slender Man for a second. But on top of the general main quest. Every area does have a side quest or two for you, and thankfully they don't really try to push their luck with like giving you a dozen different things for each area. Thankfully, because
Fair enough.
that would have been tedious.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a neat game, and I'm glad I got to play it.
Fair enough. See, it's weird now because it's like this podcast does come out before Halloween, so there you go. You got a day to play it. Play Dredge. Go on, do it. Play some Halloween
Or play
games.
Dave the Diver.
That's out now.
I've
checked.
Diver.
It's out.
Yeah.
It is out.
Yeah,
I could buy it.
It came out yesterday.
I will finish Mario Wonder first. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to finish dinner before you can have dessert.
Exactly.
Life's too short to wait for dessert.
Did you ever finish Inscription, by the way?
I did finish Inscription. The first act was the best,
Okay.
and it's one of those things where I was still into it because of like the story hook that they give you at the end of the first act. I was like, well, I want to see where this goes, but also I liked the vibe of the beginning the most, and I think it was one of. I'm like, if you would have been able to find a way to give me what you gave me story-wise while also keeping me just in the cabin, that would have been ideal for me.
I was just curious because I realized that we had that conversation like months ago about it, and I was trying to be
Yeah.
extremely kind of repressed with anything that I was trying to get forward because I knew that there was a big twist.
It was like the next day or
yeah,
maybe two that I got to that.
I don't know why when you were talking about this, I was just like, that's reminded me of Inscription. Just in that was a creepy game that I never heard of.
Inscription too. Like it was cool. It was just one of those things where it peaked pretty early on, and then the rest of it was just kind of still good, but
lower.
People say that about people say that about a lot of stuff like that, like horror games and stuff like that. People say that about Doki Doki all the time. I've heard a lot of people say that, where it's like the first big thing in Doki Doki, people were like, "Oh, holy shit!" And then after that point, it's like, "Okay, I get it. Like you've played your hand
people
now."
Say that, but I think that the second one they do to you is messed up for its own reasons that are still interesting and cool.
Yeah, I do think it is hard though when a game like that has a hand that they have to play. That once you have played it, it's kind of the thing where it's like, okay, you've done that now, and now it's just like we're rolling with it.
It's like now it's kind of like
it clicks, right? If it clicks, it clicks. But if it doesn't, you're like, well, you've already played.
I wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like it's kind of like the final act of a JRPG where it's like if you're not into the characters, then you're probably not going to care about the exposition that they're going to.
Oh, I thought you were going to say if you don't care about fighting God at the end, then
no. If you're not into the characters and what they've been going through for the past 80% of the game, the 20% where they're just smacking you with words until you give up, is probably not going to hit for you.
But remember, guys, smacking people with words, it works, dude. It works. Remember that. It works in real life.
Called a poetry slam.
Oh, it's just called bullying.
Oh, that too, I guess.
It's like how they bully. Yeah. Thank you to all of Persona fans bullying Limited Run on Twitter for making the cover art the correct one. Thank you. Cheers to that one. First time where I'm like, you know what? Bullying was justified. Why'd you change the golden art? Why would you do it? Crime. Absolute robbery. But yeah.
They'll do something like put the one they were trying to go with at first is going to be the reverse side.
Yeah. Well, they did say it's a reversible cover. That would be the most evil. That would be like the we win in the end. Is if the ugly cover that nobody wanted is the one that's in there when you're sealed. So it's like your choice. Do you want to open your copy and have good box art, or keep it sealed and have shit box art?
Yeah,
I feel
that seems like something they would do because all of their covers, as far as what I've gotten, have been reversible. I didn't get the Coffee Talk physicals from Limited Run. That came from Serenity Forge, but their reverse covers are cool because it's just the skylines that they show you before you enter Yeah, it's cool. I like
That's
it.
interesting. That's
The actual box arts are pretty sweet too. They're really good pieces of artwork.
it's also a PS5 version. That PS5 version of Coffee Talk is not available digitally at the moment. That's the only way to get a PS5 version of Coffee Talk.
Interesting.
There's no free upgrade or anything as of recording this.
Oh, maybe when I put the disc in, it won't yell at me for trying to have two versions of the game.
It
at
won't.
once.
Yeah.
Because
shouldn't
like
anyway.
there's a thing with physical versions of indie games is like it'll be like, oh, you can't have the digital and the disc installed at the same time.
Oh yeah, it should be fine. Oh, was this just with indies? Because I say it was it ever since they added the thing where now, if you own a game digitally and physically, they used to count as two separate entities, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But there was a PS5 software update where now, if you've got a game digitally and you put the disc in, they count both as the same way. So if you had
I
a game
haven't
installed from disc, you buy it digitally, you don't have to re-download it anymore. You can just play it. Like,
I
this stuff,
haven't
like,
tried to do it in a while. I just remember like Celeste and Transistor both yelled at me for this because I had them installed on my PlayStation before I had the disc. Anyway, and then I put the disc in and it's like, you gotta delete this one first, pal.
yeah,
I
it
was
doesn't
like,
do that
okay,
anymore. It should
fine.
just swap over to the other version. It just
Well, that's
yeah.
cool.
Fingers crossed anyway. I thought it was interesting that you bought the PS5 versions because whenever I buy indie stuff, I'm usually a Switch person when I buy physical indie stuff. I don't know why.
I don't know. I just picked. I already had. Well, I guess on one hand, you know, you'd think me. I kind of already have a lot of my other ones on PS5, like River City Girls. I got both of those on
Oh,
PS5.
did you?
Yeah, it's kind of like a continuity thing at this point, I guess.
Yeah, mine is mine.
It's kind of like how I wasn't
just
gonna
picked
buy
Switch, I guess.
I wasn't gonna buy PlayStation Octopath because I already have Octopath 1 on the Switch.
Mm.
Yeah, I
That's
do
kind of
that though.
was
If I
kind of the
yeah,
same
that's the thing. It's like with Game Pass, right? And it's like Persona's got that Game Pass deal now, but like in my head, Persona is tied to PlayStation just because I had that original experience on PlayStation. So now I'm gonna always want to play Persona on PlayStation. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
You know, once you've got in your head, franchise belongs here, then it feels wrong if you don't play it there. It
That's why
just,
you're gonna play Crash Bandicoot on the PC
I genuinely
when the
will
next
because
one
it doesn't
comes
feel
out.
right. Yeah, it doesn't feel right. It just feels wrong. Dude.
But yeah, it'll be cool to have Coffee Talk 2 for the PlayStation because I had to play it on the PC when I got it
Boo-hoo.
earlier this year.
Yeah, I got it on PlayStation 5.
Good job.
Thank you. I worked very
And
hard. on
I
it.
didn't.
You know, I don't
play
know
it.
if this was a printing error, and this is just weird observations about this box now, but like, and it seems weird to me. According to the boxes, first Coffee Talk rated M, Coffee Talk 2 rated T.
You think
And
they
I
should
can't
both
for
be
the life
rated
of me.
T
I can't. I think it's just a printing
for
error
the
on the
banter?
first one's box because, like, I can't for the life of me imagine why they would be different, and I especially don't remember anything about the first game being M rated.
Well, you know, when you think about it, it makes sense that because of the title, the second one's rated T. You know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, thank you,
Uh,
thank you, thank you. The joke
it's
was
like
hibiscus
when
and butterfly are two types of
it's
tea.
like
Kyle.
yeah,
That was the joke.
yeah.
I got
Thank you,
it.
thank you,
It's
thank
like
you. That look forward
there's
to my
one
comedy
Phoenix
special
Wright
on
game
Netflix.
that's randomly M rated, but it makes sense because there's a scene that justifies it.
It's on screen right now, by the way. We'll just do one of these long outros, so I'll just put them up now. But yeah, no, I could order them from Serenity Forge, but unfortunately, I've got to go through this Persona problem. So I'm like, eh. And I hate this. I hate limited run. Not because I don't have a grudge against limited run like a load of people do because I haven't ordered from them before, but I hate limited run because when they take up the kind of rights for these projects, they usually have exclusivity, so no one else ever really publishes them. And they
At
only
least
do
for a long
American
time,
and
it
they
tends
only
to be
do
like
American
that.
copies, so it's going to be really
Oh,
annoying for me because
that
the
sucks.
Switch and American box arts are different where the North American Switch box art has all the titles on the top on the sides, whereas ours are centered. So it was going to really annoy me because all my Persona copies are going to be North American, so they're all going to look wrong on my shelf. Stuff like that. Hate it.
Yeah.
I just wish.
But yeah, like
It's dumb.
I think if because like Fangamer or whatever, someone recently did a Celeste.
Oh, I love
physical
Fangamer. Yeah, it
that-
was Celeste.
yeah, yeah.
Fangamer was Celeste.
Which I contemplated buying again because their artwork for that looked really good.
That's the copy I have. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really
Limited
nice
Run
because
did one
Fangamer
back
does
in-
European copies. It's great.
Yeah,
Big ups to Fangamer. They actually do
'Cause-
regional variants.
yeah.
which is
They
good.
did one in like 2019,
Mhm.
which was the only one I was aware of for a while, or which I suspect was the only one for
But
a
yeah.
while, and yeah.
This is Atlas Hunter. This is it. We
Oh,
won't
yeah.
get another printing.
Atlas is weirdly loyal to
this
things for no
isn't Maddie
reason.
Makes Games. This isn't anybody else, right? This is Atlas. Well done. This is all you'll get. This will be the only physical copy of Persona 4 Golden that you'll get for Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox ever. So
Because they
just
hate
gotta
you.
bite the bullet, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is weird because, like I say, you know, most people will be like, I don't give a shit about P3P because Reload is literally like 4 months away. But Golden, it's like Golden is in that grey area where it's like people want to remake, but we're going to assume that we're going to get an older Persona game remade before Golden after this, you'd assume. So unless Atlas wants to commit to that bit of P1 and 2 just not existing, which would be comical. But
I think P4 is probably likely to get a remake before those because
I also
more
do, but
people
I
care
also
about
feel
it.
like I don't want to be on the internet when that happens. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't. There's also a part of me that's like, you're gonna have to rework some of P4. Some of their dialogue's gonna need to be done again, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
But you can't kick Yuri out of both of his roles. You know what I mean? I know they replaced the cast
Sure
for
you
3,
could.
but poor Yuri, dude. What's he gonna do? Be Spider-Man? He can't just live on those Spider-Man checks, dude. Poor Yuri.
I think Yuri's gonna be fine.
I don't
He's
know.
only one of the most famous voice actors around.
Nah, dude. Anyway, we've been rambling long enough. I'm exhausted, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm losing the ability to speak, so we're gonna wrap it up. But yeah, thank you ever so much for listening and watching this week. We really do appreciate it. Next week, we finally have a break, which is nice. So I think next week, God, it might have to be either next week or the week after. We're gonna have to start talking about predictions for what's gonna get nominated for Game Awards and stuff like that, right? Like that's gonna have to start cropping up. We're getting to that season, which is scary. But hey,
It's all fun and games until it's actually happening.
yeah, I know, right? It's always fun. It's a fun hypothetical, and then you're like, oh
And then
no,
it's just
damn it.
Then
games.
you
And then
have
it's
to
like
watch it.
It's a month
like,
until we have
"Ah."
to spend 4 hours watching Game
4
Awards
hours
again.
with Jeff.
I'm off at least this time, which is good. Like that's the only bright side is I don't have to go into work again. Like the last 3 years we've done it, so that's a positive. But yeah, we'll see what happens next week. Like I say, we've got P5 Tactica and Super Mario. Well, which one is it's Mario RPG, right? I'm like, there's 2 of them now, so I'm like 1,000 Year Door. No, that's later. That's 2024. So yeah, we still got some games
I don't
yet
think
to
that has a
come.
release date yet.
No, I
It's
assume it's
probably
going to be June.
2024.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's 100% 2024.
Surely
It's
it
probably
can't
June.
take that long.
It's probably June. But anyway, join us next week for talking about random stuff. Will it be Game Awards? Will it be something else? Because we realise there's
Will it be
something
the
else we need to talk
Spider-Man
about.
suits?
Shall we rank some Spider-Man suits? Let's find out next week. Same time, same place. As always, have an awesome week. And yeah, we'll see you then. Bye.
See ya.
Toodaloo.